Love is spiritual, not natural. You ever think about that? This is absolutely miraculous. With love, you get the results now. Another part of the purpose of your life, after you decide what your worldview is, what the principles are of that, and try your best to live in harmony with that, and to live in harmony with the way your brain and nervous system work correctly, you also are probably going to need to give some thought to, okay, but what do I do in life? How do I find, when we talk about purpose, doesn't that involve work? Doesn't that involve what you're trying to accomplish in the world? Doesn't that involve, yes, in other words, the action? Yes, it absolutely does. Okay, so what I would recommend is to think about the difference in those two paths and decide whether or not you are willing to commit fully, and we talked about this back in The Greatest Principle, to love or not. Okay, but I'm hoping and praying after you see the difference in your life based on that decision, you'll maybe take it a little bit more seriously. But after we've committed to that and we're doing our best to live in love in the present moment, we're not just going to sit on the couch all day, or I hope we won't. All right, love usually gives you energy, makes you want to get out there and do stuff. So how do you determine what's the right thing for you to do? Well, there's some very obvious and sort of foundational things that I would recommend. My wife is a big fan of personality tests, okay? And you take the personality test, and usually there's an extensive interpretation, which includes the professions that you would be good at, all right? I would also look for what are you best at? What would other people say you're best at? What do you feel you're best at? It's very likely whatever you're best at is an area that you are gifted in. And typically when you are living using your gifts, it works. And you're fulfilled, you're happy, you're whatever, all right? Most of the time when you're doing something that does not use your gifts and is just something that you consider a meaningless kind of task, that's usually when you're unhappy. Also, sometimes people think that money, becoming a multi-millionaire or something, that is what they want most, but very few multimillionaires, at least in my experience, are living in love, joy, peace. Most of them got there because they were living on the fear side and they were so driven, like this is what will make my life, right? And then they get there and are disappointed. But I do think it's very important what you're gifted at, what you're naturally best at, and then the other one is what do you enjoy the most. I know most of you have heard that thing. If you didn't have to make money and money was a total non-issue, what would you do? Okay? And that's certainly not original with me, but you know what? It's good advice. All right? What do you love the most? What do you enjoy the most? What are you best at? What do you feel the best inside when you're doing or after you do it? I take all those into consideration. I take a personality test. I would recommend my homology test that diagnoses the unconscious in about 25 different categories, tells you your strength, tells you your weakness, etc. I would take a look at that. And then I would just pray and meditate and say, okay, regardless of maybe whether it seems really hard to do, what do I love? What am I gifted at? What do others say I'm gifted at? What do I feel best inside when I do? And write those things down and then take a look. Yeah, you got to consider, can you afford to pay for bread and milk while I do this? but try not to put too much on that, because typically when you're doing something that is your gifting and that you love, you do a better job at it and typically make more money. So that one may take care of itself. But yeah, consider all of that. But then the final decision is this the decision from my heart, from my conscience, that I can say is love-based? It is win-win-win for everybody, and what I feel best about doing in a life that has been committed to love and truth. Okay? And if you can say that, and it makes you feel good inside, and you're good at it, and you love it, and hey, I would go for it. Now, you may decide later that that's not right. No problem. No problem. Switch gears, man. I've changed a bunch in my life. Most people do. Okay? The one sort of exception to this, if you live in a third world country, or if you're in a place that it's kind of just survival, I've got to do whatever I can do to eat. Yeah, there are times you need to do that. Absolutely. For all of us, Hope and I had about 3 years like that. Okay? But while you do it, understand that you are doing the thing of integrity here, which is love-based, and that your body and mind are the most sophisticated frequency generators there have ever been. Your mind can create the frequency of love, joy, peace, whatever. It checks with our memories, and so if it's like joy memories, immediately my unconscious mind connects with thousands of joy memories in my life and can give me those feelings even if I'm not thinking about that memory. All right? So I would practice that. I would think of a joy memory and see how it feels. And then I would maybe not think about it and say, okay, heart, okay, mind, body, please create in me the frequency of joy, but without having to be focused on that joy. And the same with peace, and the same with love, and the same with forgiveness, and the same with acceptance versus rejection, all of them, all right? And I believe you will get better and better at deciding and being able to put into action feeling at peace internally, even if you're doing something that would not be your first choice. And I think people who do that, who do something they don't really like because they feel like they don't have any other choice, but they do it from a place of love, man, that is the high country. All right? It's easy to do it when everything's going your way. All right? But when it's not going your way and you still do what you do from a place of love, joy, peace, and consideration and love of others and all of that, to me, that is success. Okay? And yes, I would rather that person not be in that difficult situation, but boy, is that wonderful for their spiritual health that they went through that way. Okay? And for the rest of us, let's pray, let's meditate, let's practice using this machine, this miraculous machine that can create frequencies and the feelings and thoughts related to them better than anything else that's ever been conceived. Way better than any computer. Okay? So give that a try.